All right. Well, welcome to the PowerPoint presentation 2013, Zero to Presentation in 60 Minutes. We are going to be covering how to use PowerPoint, creating slides, and using some tips and tricks when working with PowerPoint, as well as new features in 2013, and working with graphics and fun. PowerPoint is a easy and fun application to use. If you do have questions, please hold them till the end of the session. There's a lot to cover in this 1 hour session, so in order to get through the topics, I will just go through them, and if you have any questions at the end, I can address them. And so I'm going to go ahead and begin. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Microsoft PowerPoint. The other thing too that I wanted to mention is that if you're working with 2010, a lot of these features that you will see are also available in 2010 as well. Now, when you open up 2013 PowerPoint, it takes you to the template window first, so that you can choose the template for your presentation. You can see on my screen that I have the different presentations. There's not a lot right now that you're looking at, but if you notice, there are categories that I can click on that will go online to the template and bring up a listing of categories of templates that I can choose from. And over on the right, they've listed all the different categories to choose from too. Now, if you do have your own company or corporate templates that you use, you would have access to those, but that would be through your company, and you would need to know where those are, and I'm sure if you are doing a lot of presentations, you probably already know that. Some of the templates that you see out here, based on what type of template they are, if you click on them, it will bring up a listing of that you can download. So you can hit download, and then it would bring up that template. A lot of the templates give you ideas of what to do. Of course, I pick an international one, but you can see that it gives you directions on what type of information you should put in that presentation. So to keep it simple, I'm going to go ahead with the faucet design, just a plain basic design, and I'm going to hit create, and it's going to open up Microsoft PowerPoint. As you notice up at the top of my screen, you will see your ribbons, and we will be going over the different ribbons and talking about some of the features in PowerPoint. It starts with a title slide. So I'm going to go ahead and click in the box and type my title. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is called a placeholder. This box that I'm typing in is called a placeholder, and you automatically just type your text in there. Later I will show you how to format placeholders, move them, etc. So now that I have my title slide, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on, I want to add a new slide. So I am going to go ahead and hit new slide. And the new slide button is actually on the home ribbon, and right here it says new slide. And if I click on the drop down arrow, I get a list of different layouts that I can choose from. And if you notice, there's a lot of different layouts. Title and content is the bulleted list slide, and then we have blank slides, title only, 2 columns, and those are different layouts that you can check out. I'm going to go ahead and click on the title and content slide, and now I have a slide where I can actually type a title and add bullets. Now, if you notice, it says click to add title. You do not have to click in that box when you want to create a slide. In fact, all you have to do is just start typing. When you start typing, the text will automatically appear in the first placeholder. Now, to get to the second placeholder, of course you could click with your mouse, but a little shortcut that you can use when moving from one placeholder to the next is to hold your Control key down and hit your Enter key. So when I do Control Enter, it's going to move to the next placeholder. Then I'm going to go ahead and type my first bullet. So now I'm going to hit Enter, and I'm going to get a second bullet. And the bullets and the text and the style that you see in the particular slide that I'm in is based off the template that I'm using. Now I'm going to hit my tab key. My tab key is going to indent my text so that I can do a secondary, like a sub bullet. So I'm going to type choosing layouts, and when I hit enter I get another secondary bullet. I'm going to say formatting text. And then I'm going to do another one and say formatting placeholders. Now, when I get to the next line, of course, I'm going to have another sub bullet. But if I hold my shift key down and hit tab, it's going to take me back to the left. And I can hit enter again to create a space. And then I'm going to go ahead and say changing slide layouts. And then I'm going to say duplicating slides. Now, when you notice the tab key would take you in, and shift tab, so if I hit enter, tab takes me in. Every time I tab, it goes up to 5 levels of bullets. Actually, it's doing more. And then if I do shift tab, it's taking me back to the far left. Also, on the ribbon in the paragraph section, those two buttons right here, the decrease list level, increase list level, does the same thing. So when you start typing, you get the bullet of the level that you're clicking on. So if you've ever used the outline level in Word, it's kind of similar to that. So if you notice, as I click on it, it goes back and forth, and I can actually change the level, because now it's a little hard for me to use the tab, shift tab. So if I want to change the level of a bullet, if I decided I wanted to change this level and send it back to a main level, I can just click on that line and use the decrease and increase list level buttons to change those levels for me. Now, I am on the last placeholder of my slide, and I want to create a new one. I can do that now by either doing Control Enter again, like I did before, or Control M, like in Michelle. And if I do Control Enter, the next slide that I get is similar to the layout of the slide that I'm on. So if the slide I'm on is a blank slide and I do Control Enter or Control M, the next slide will be blank. If I have a bulleted list slide, the next slide is a bulleted list slide. So the second slide I'm going to do, I'm going to type PowerPoint tips. Here's the thing that I'm doing. I'm not even using my mouse right now, because if I start typing, it goes in the first placeholder. If I do Control Enter, it goes to the second placeholder. And I'm going to go ahead and type my bullets. And then when I get to the bottom and of my placeholder here, and then do Control Enter, the next slide is a bulleted list slide. So as I'm doing this, I'm not even using my mouse. So that's a nice feature. Now I'm going to go back to my first slide and talk a little bit about formatting your placeholders. So you notice when I click in the first box here, I get a box around the text. It's like a text box, but they call it a placeholder in PowerPoint. I can move this. I can actually take this and move this if I want. If you put your mouse on the border of the placeholder, you'll notice when I first click on it, it's very subtle, but you'll notice that there's little dashes. And when I click on the border again, it becomes a solid line. When I do that, then I can actually drag with my mouse, or I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard to actually move the placeholder around on my slide. You can use the circles in the corner to size the placeholder to make it bigger or smaller. You can use the rotate button to rotate the placeholder if you want to rotate it. Then, if you want to format the text inside, click 3 times. 1, 2, 3 highlights all of the text inside the placeholder. Then a little mini toolbar appears where I can go ahead and quickly format the text, so I can change the font, and I can change the size by clicking on the big A or the little a to increase and decrease the font size. I can go here to the font color, and I can go to more colors and go to the standard tab if the colors that you want are not listed in the drop-down list. You also have some other features up here where you also have a shadow. If you want to apply, there's a shadow button in the font section on the home ribbon, so you can format the text. You can also change the spacing between the letters, and you can actually increase the spacing between the letters by using that button. And then you also have the change case, so that you can make it all uppercase if you want, or capitalize the first each word, and you can quickly change the formatting of the text. Then down here, if I click 1, 2, 3 again to highlight it, I can go ahead and format the text real fast and go ahead and do that using the little mini toolbar to change it. And then the other thing that I can do on the home ribbon in the drawing section, if I want with a placeholder, is go to Quick Styles. And actually, if I want to shade the inside of the placeholder, I can do that using some of the quick styles that are listed. I can go to Shape Fill, and then I can go in, and if I wanted to do like a picture, I could do that. Insert a picture, so I can go here, and I'll talk about that a little later. A picture from an existing file, picture from clip art, which I would suggest our clip art is not as, I don't know, it's okay. And then you can actually go online and search for graphics that way. You can go to the shape outline and change the weight of the placeholder and the color of the border around the placeholder. And then you can even go in and add, they give you so many things you can do now. You can even rotate it. You can make it look like a button. You can do whatever to the placeholder to make it look unique. Then under the Arrange section, if I go to Align, if I want to align it in the middle of the slide, or if I want to go to the center of the slide, or whatever under the alignment, you can also change that manually by dragging it down or whatever. And then the other thing, if you notice, is in the right-hand corner where it says Drawing, there's a little button. If I click on that, it brings up the formatting pane on the right. And this is new in 2013. So instead of having to go up here and click on each of these little individual arrows to get what I want, I can actually go here where it says Fill, and then I can click on the little arrow to the left of Fill, and I can say, do I want my own fill colors that I can choose from, the direction that I want those fill colors to appear. I know that's why PowerPoint is fun. We can go in and you can do pictures, you can do texture fills, so here's all the different textures you can choose from. You can go into pattern fills and fill in with different patterns. You can then go to the line down here for the border. Then you could go here for the effects, like we did before with the different 3D effects. You just click on the little arrows to expand that. The only difference about doing it here versus up here is that if you notice, as I hover over these, I don't get the live preview. I don't get what it's going to look like until I make the choice. Whereas up here, if I do it, I can get an idea of what it's going to look like when I make my choice. And then here I have my text box, so that you notice that my text is at the top of the placeholder, but if I click here and choose middle, it drops the text in the middle, and then up here where the paragraph section is, if I really want it in the middle, I can do a horizontal and vertical text centering. So this format window is where I get all my choices. So when you see that, you'll see that more in 2013, where it actually locks the shape window, the formatting window on the right-hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And now, let's say that I want to use this slide at the end of my presentation. So on the home ribbon, if I click on the drop-down arrow, I can go down here where it says Duplicate Selected Slides. So if I click on that, what it's going to do is it's actually going to create a duplicate slide of the one I was on. And I'm going to just type in my ending slide saying thank you. And down below, I will just type next session, will be OneNote. Now, I want to move this slide at the end. Over on the left-hand slide, I am in what's called normal view, and you can notice that you have like a film strip on the left. You have the actual slide that you're working with. You can put your mouse here to actually size this window to make the slides larger or smaller, and then you can actually click on the slide and move it where you want it. So I can take this slide and move it to the end. So now I have my opening slide, my ending slide, and my slides in the middle. Now I'm going to go back to the slide here, this slide number 4, and I'm going to go ahead and type a title, and then I'm going to go using AutoFit. I want to talk about AutoFit. So I'm going to go into my bulleted slide, and I'm going to type the following little code that's going to give me some text. And when I do that, watch my placeholder. Now, my placeholder, what happened was the text was too big for the placeholder, so it automatically adjusted the size of the text to fit inside the placeholder. So if I click after the last bullet and I hit enter twice and then I start typing, notice how it quickly makes the text smaller. The more text I put in the placeholder, the more it's going to adjust it. And that's because my AutoFit feature in PowerPoint is turned on. How do I know that? When the bottom left-hand corner of the placeholder, when you do have more text in the placeholder than you should, you'll see this little button in the bottom left-hand corner, and it's called the AutoFit Options button. When I click on it, I can, that's why it's on, because I have it set. I would not recommend stop fitting text to placeholder, and if you do click on this and turn it off, I'll show you how to get it to turn it back on. You can actually split your text between 2 slides. So it now took some of the text from this slide and threw it into another slide because it's too much. You don't want it to be too small that your audience can't see it. Now, if I hit my undo button and I go back here and click in my placeholder, I can also continue it on a new slide, or I can change it to 2 columns on the same slide. So now, to make it a little bit easier to read and make it larger, it adjusted it to 2 columns. So again, now if I take out some bullets and delete it, watch what will happen. It'll automatically just adjust the text to fit in the placeholder. It's a really great feature, and I recommend people use it more than they do. Now, if for some reason you are not seeing that, if it's not adjusting because you may have automatically said stop doing that, see what's happening now, how it's stretching it out so it's not in the placeholder, then you can choose AutoFit text placeholder, and then it'll readjust. If you don't even see this button at all, you need to go to File, you need to go to Options, you go to Proofing, and it is an autocorrect options feature that is on the Auto Format as You Type tab, and down below it says Auto Fit Title Text to Placeholder, so that would be your title. If you have more than 2 lines for a title, it would fit it in there. And then Auto Fit Body Text to Placeholder. So again, it gives you that option, and that's why it works, because it's checked. So if it's not working and you don't know why, come here in this window, check it, and hit OK, and then you'll automatically turn on your little Auto Fit button. So now I'm going to go ahead and add another slide. So I'm going to do my Control Enter, and now I get another slide. But let's say that I decided that I want to change the layout of this slide. So there is a layout button on the home ribbon where it says layout, and I can choose a new, so here I can choose one that's blank, that has nothing on it. I can go back to layout and choose title only, where I have a title, a placeholder, but I don't have anything here because I'm going to put a graphic here. You can also right click on the gray area over here where the slide is, go to layout, and then also change your layout that way. So no matter what ribbon you're on at the top, you can do that. I'm going to go and click in here and type graphics and click back in my slide. Now, One of the things that you can work with in PowerPoint when you are trying to align graphics on a slide are guides. If I go to my View ribbon, you'll notice that there is a section here that says Show. It says Show Ruler, so if you want your ruler to be shown, you can do that. It has grid lines, which are these grid lines that you'll see very subtly on the slide. You don't see these when you run the presentation. And then you have what are called guides. And the guides right here can be moved. So you notice you have a horizontal and a vertical guide. So as I move them around, I can change them around. So when I'm putting things on my slide, I can lay them out in the same place. So I can take one of these lines, I can just go like this, and then I can take this and I can put my graphic here on every slide and it's in the same place. The other thing you can do is you can point to one of the guides, you can hold your control key down, and as you hold the control key down, you can make another guide. So if I hold my control key down, I can make multiple guides. The same with placeholders. If I click here and hold my control key down, I can actually make a duplicate of my placeholder on a slide. So I can do that, and every time, and then when you want to get rid of the guide, you can either uncheck the guide box, or you can take a guide and you can just click on it and drag it right off the slide. And when you just drag it right off the slide, it disappears. In the bottom right hand corner of the show, you'll notice there's that little button that brings up the window, and I can choose to display my grid on the screen and change the size of that grid. If you notice, before I had that grid that was, let's say I do 1 inch and hit OK. Now you see my grid is 1 inch. So that's that grid line box that I was talking about. But the guides are nice for helping you line up graphics. Now let's put a graphic on this page for right now. And I'm going to go to my Insert ribbon up at the top. And if you click on Pictures, you can go ahead and get pictures that are from your folders that you have. If you go to Online Pictures, you can go in and you can type in, so like let's for clip art, if I type volcano and I hit enter, okay, so there's the volcanoes. Now in the past when I was working with clip art, I could always tell which ones were, there were animated clip arts that I could click on and I could insert, and then when I would run my presentation, the clip art would actually do something. But now I'm having a hard time finding those animated clip arts through Microsoft. So if you notice when you go to Online Pictures, there's a option here that says Bing Image Search, and Bing is Microsoft's search engine. So if I click here and I type animated clip art, it's going to take me online and it's going to bring up clip art that actually moves. So I'm going to click on this little happy star here and I'm going to insert him, and then I can size my picture, and if I put my mouse in the center, I can move it around, and as I move it around, you'll probably notice this little lines that appear. Those are helping me line the graphic up on my slide. And in order for me to see the animation, I'm going to go down here to this little button that says Slideshow, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and click on it and watch my little animated clip art move. So there's all kinds of websites you can go to get clip art. One of them that I have looked at in the past is called Animation Factory. And if you go to this website, and they have all kinds of animated clip art. And so if I go here where it says animated clip art, I can then go, they'll have a bunch of different categories that I can click on. So let's say I click on something like food and drink. We'll go on that one just in case. You can actually search for things if you want. So here's a little happy salt shaker, I think it is. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on it. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to go back to PowerPoint and I'm going to right click, and then you get the little paste special buttons that pop up. So I'm going to click on the first one I'm going to size it, and then I'm going to move it, and then I'm going to run my slideshow again just to see if it moves, and yes, it does. So you can go out there, you can find all kinds of animated clip art. It moves when you run the presentation, so you can use those and make it a little bit more fun for your presentations. Now, I'm going to, and I will come back to graphics a little bit later, how to put logos and things like that on your desktop in your presentation, but I'm going to go and over here to the left, and I'm going to go to the first slide, and I want to talk about sections and working with sections, and this is new in 10 and 13. So over on the home ribbon, it says add sections. So I'm going to click on the drop down arrow and hit add section, and I'm going to get a section at the top of my presentation. Right now, all of these slides underneath are in this section. So if I click on the little arrow to the left, it collapses that section. I can right click on a section and hit rename. I'm going to call it morning and hit rename. Now, I want another section. So I'm going to go down to the third slide. I'm going to go to section, add section, and I'm going to right click, rename this, and call it afternoon. And then I'm going to go down to the fifth slide, add another section, and call this, rename this, and add it, call it end. Now, I have 3 sections in my presentation. I have my slides for the morning, my slides for the afternoon, and my slides for the end of the day. So I can click here and just show the morning slides and talk about those so they're grouped. I can expand this out and expand this out. The other thing you can do, which is nice, if you go to File and you go to Print, is actually where it says Print All Slides. You can click on the drop-down arrow and actually print just those sections. So I can say just print the morning section, just print the afternoon section. So when you want to print them, you can just print those sections if you want. I'm going to go back to my presentation. I'm going to click on the arrow in the upper left-hand corner, and then I have my sections here. If you want to delete a section, you can right-click on it and say remove section to take it out, but then it becomes part of the section above it. So now this is all part of the afternoon section, and this is all part of the morning. You can notice that I said remove section and not remove section in slides because I didn't want it to take out all of my slides, and then you can quickly remove all the sections if you wanted to and take those out. So the section feature in PowerPoint is really nice because it helps you group your slides together, and you can then group them by, presentation style however you want. I'm going to go to the view ribbon. I'm going to uncheck the guides box to get rid of the guides on my slide, and then I'm going to go to slide number 2. Another feature that's in PowerPoint, and some of you may have used it in the past, and you may use it now, is notes. And down here it says notes, and this is for the speaker. So if I click on the notes button, in 2013, what I like about this is I can click on it and notice that I have my notes box, and you had this before in older versions, but before this was always here. So now if I click on this and I drag it up to make it larger so that I can type my notes in here. So this would be for my speaker notes, and to mention how to right click to change slide layouts. Now, let's say that I'm done with the notes for this slide, and I go to the next slide to create my notes, so I can type notes in here. Now, I'm done with my notes for now. So instead of having to drag this back down to size it, I can just click on the notes button and it goes away. So when I need it, I click on notes and it goes back, and I can type in here. And then when I click on notes, it goes back to the normal view. On the view ribbon, there is a view called Notes Page. So when I click on that button, it also allows me to click in here and type the notes for myself This is usually for you, the speaker. And then you can have your notes right in here. And then you can go from slide to slide, and you can then just type your notes underneath in this view also. You can go back to normal then and do it here. There's a notes button right here for you. So speaking of views, the different views in PowerPoint. Down below in the bottom right hand corner, you do have your normal view button, which is this view right here, which when I click on it, it takes me to the normal view and shows me my slide and my film strip over here on the left. This is your slide sorter view. This view was always here, and basically this is a way for you to advertise, to see the different slides. This is also a place where you can move your slides around. So you can click on them and you can drag them and change the order of them if you want. You can also use the zoom button down here to make this area bigger or smaller, or use the control key down, hold your control key down and spin the wheel on your mouse so you can see more slides. And also the other thing with the slide sorter view is it's a great way to locate slides. If you have like 50 to 100 slides and you need to find a slide quickly, you can go to the slide sorter view, double click on a slide, and it will take you back to the normal view, and then that allows you to see the get to the slide that you need to get to. The other view they have down here, this is new, it's called the reading view, and what it is when you click on it, it's kind of like you're running the presentation, but you're not, because you can still see your taskbar at the bottom. You can still see your window up at the top, and then there's a little arrow key that you can click to move from slide to slide. And also you can see things that are animated on the slide. It's like presentation view, but not full presentation view. And then if I go back to if I want to go back to normal view, I just click on that button and it takes me right back to that view. Then you have the little slideshow button here. The neat thing about the button down here, this actually runs the presentation from the current slide. So let's say I wanted to see my animation on this slide. If I click on that little button here, it actually will just show that slide so that I don't have to run through the whole presentation from the beginning. Now, a little trick for this is Shift F5. If you hold your Shift key down and hit F5, it also runs the slide from the current slide, and hitting your F5 key runs the slide from the beginning. So you can also do that. And then of course you have your zoom button here, but my favorite button that they have, which is kind of hidden from a lot of people, is this button in the corner. It's called Fit Slides to Current Window. What's nice about that is that if you open a presentation and let's say the slide is this small, you just click on that button and it automatically adjusts the slide to fill in the screen. Also, if the slide is too big and you click on that button, it adjusts the slide to fit perfectly in your monitor screen. So that's one of my favorite buttons. Now, if I go back to the view ribbon, there are some other views here that are not listed down below, and that would be the outline view, which would just show you the outline of your presentation without any graphics on it. And the other one that we talked about earlier was the notes page. That's where you can go and see the slide and the speaker notes underneath. And these views can also be printed, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So now I'm going to go to the design ribbon and talk about the different designs that you'll notice. This is if, when we first started the presentation, we actually picked a design template. And now I may change my mind. Now I may say, you know what, I think I want something else. So there's a little button here, it's the More button, and when you click on it, it will expand so you can see the different styles that are listed. Some of these styles are styles that you may have used before or what's available based on where you're at or what you're doing. So when you click on that design, notice how it changes In fact, my title is now in the upper right-hand corner, and notice how it has changed the bullets and the text that's on the slide, and it has changed it completely. And then over here, you might have different variances that you can choose from for those different slide designs that you've picked. So if I don't like it, I can go back and I can pick something else if I want, and then I could choose a color from here and pick that color, and it applies it to the whole presentation. Now, as far as having different slide layouts in a presentation, one of the things that you have to do, and that will be discussed in another webinar or webcast, would be using different slide masters to have different templates in your presentation. Now, also over here, you can adjust the slide size. So if you go to slide size and go to custom slideshow, it's defaulted to widescreen, but depending on what type of you're doing, if you're doing some adjustments you may have to do here sometimes to run your slideshow. If I hit OK, it'll give me some options that I can choose from, and I'm going to hit cancel because I don't want to change this right now. Also, the other thing, if you notice under custom slides, is it says if you want your slides to print landscape, which is the default, and notes, handouts, and outlines will print portrait unless you choose a different either portrait or landscape. Format background, that's something based on the slide design that you're using. So you can just actually choose a different background if you notice. You can choose different background colors. You can choose how it's shaded, and you can see the effects that I'm giving in my background. Then down below it says apply to all. So if I hit apply to all, it resets the background on every slide now, which makes the text hard to see. But as you can tell, it goes ahead and adjusts that. So if I want, I can go back and pick something else and hit apply to all. And now it's a little bit easier to see and then notice where my graphics are, so I may need to move them. Maybe I'll put this little guy in here. And it's given me a completely different look. So now that leads me to this. So I'm going to close my little background. I'm going to go back to my home, and then I'm going to go to this feature here, which is very, very, I like it a lot. And you may have known it as Import Slides from File button, and now it's called Reuse Slides. Let's say that you want to bring in slides from another presentation. So I'm going to go to Reuse Slides, and then it brings up the Reuse Slide pane on the right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and hit Browse from File, and I'm going to go to my desktop. And I have a presentation here that I can use. And I'm going to hit open. And this brings in the slides from that presentation. Now, if I want, and I just click on one of those slides, it adds that slide into the presentation, and then it matches the template of the slide presentation that I'm importing it into. I've just imported this into this presentation. It made a copy. It's not removing it from the original presentation. It's bringing it into this one. Now, if I want to keep the original format, I just check this box down below that says Keep Source Formatting. And if I go ahead and then touch it, notice how it puts it into this presentation, but it keeps the original formatting of the presentation. Now I've got two different style templates in this presentation. So you can mix style presentation designs in a presentation. But then if I wanted to import all of these, I could right click on one of the slides, and I could say, before I do that, I'm going to uncheck this box so that it matches the presentation that I'm pasting it into. I can say import all slides. They just came in to this one here, and basically they blend in, but it's coming from this presentation here. I know a lot of you probably have used this before in the slide sorter view, where you copy slides from one presentation and paste them into the slide sorter of the presentation of another presentation, but this kind of takes that place. You can still do it the way you're used to doing it, but this is a much better way of importing slides from one presentation into another presentation. So now I'm going to go ahead and close that. Now, going back to my first slide, I'm going to go ahead and click on my placeholder, Welcome to PowerPoint. I'm going to go to the Home ribbon, and another feature that's really interesting, and this is also in 2010, is Convert to SmartArt. You can take text and convert it into a SmartArt diagram. And so if I click on this and see the different designs that come up, I get that live preview that shows, so as I hover over the different designs and I click on that one, it changes my placeholder to a SmartArt diagram. I'm going to go to the second slide, and let's say that I decide I want to make this a diagram, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I'll pick that one. And if I went to more SmartArt graphics, I could actually go to a lot of different designs that are in here and choose one of those and hit OK. And that one pretty much doesn't work. But then I can go ahead and click on the different layouts that are under here, or hit more, and you can see that there's all these different layouts that you can choose from for that particular placeholder. I can do the same with the bullets. I can click here, I can go Convert to SmartArt, and then I can choose the different designs. And notice, based on this one here, let's say I pick this one, that because this had sub-bullets, those sub-bullets are showing up as this design. And what's nice about this, then I can format my SmartArt. And so now, and SmartArt is a whole little thing in itself. I can go here and change colors if I want to. And the color choices, again, are based off the template design that you've chosen. And then if I want, I can go here to the SmartArt styles, and I can hover over the different styles to give it a 3D look. And then when I want, I can format these, and I can actually animate those, which I'm going to talk about shortly. SmartArt in itself, if you want to insert SmartArt graphics, you can go to Insert SmartArt and choose any of the different types of styles that you see here, and then click OK. You can then click in here and you can type what it is that you're doing. So you just click and it'll adjust itself. And the same thing, then you can work with the SmartArt formatting toolbar up at the top to go ahead and enhance the SmartArt. The other thing is, when I click on the SmartArt design, when I go to format, you see I have my I click on SmartArt here, I get a format and a design ribbon. The design ribbon is for the style of the SmartArt, and on the format ribbon I can do what is called the new word art. I can click a word art design for my text, and then again I have the text fill for the word art if I want to change the color inside of it. If I want to text effects, one of the things, the transform, is the one that will actually change the text style depending on what you pick. So if you kind of remember your word art from previous applications, and you can see that that's how it looks. It doesn't necessarily mean it's pretty, but it's just showing you how to work with it. I think it's nice. Okay, so now I'm going to go to a blank slide. I'm going to go ahead, and this was the one with the title. So if I do now, the other thing is, I did my Control M and nothing happened, and that's very important. A lot of times people wonder, well, why are my buttons grayed out? Why can't I work on my slide? Because you have two different sides. You've got the film strip on the left, and then you have the actual slide. So the reason my shortcut didn't work is because I'm over here on the slide film strip. And so I need to go back and click on the actual slide itself in order for that Control M to work, or the Control Enter to work. So now what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about the something called screenshot. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up my internet and I'm going to go to a website. So the Simplex-IT website. Is this it? So it's going to come up, and then I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint presentation. So here's something I want to capture, something on that web page that I just opened up. So a feature that they have on the insert ribbon is called screenshots. And if you notice, it says screenshot, and if I click on it, any page that I have open, if I click right on that page, it would open up the whole page on my screen. So it captures the entire screen. But I don't want the entire screen. I want a portion of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead to insert screenshot screen clipping. When I click on screen clipping and make sure that the website is behind my PowerPoint presentation, it's going to bring it up and then it's going to gray it out. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to, with my little mouse here, I'm going to drag over the part of the screenshot that I want. I'm going to let go and it's going to put it right in my slide. Then what I can do with it is I can size it, I can move it, and put it anywhere I want on my presentation. So that is the screenshot feature. Then again, as for the online pictures, as we mentioned before, if you go in here and you type something, and let's say flowers, because I'm so tired of winter, you know, let's say I decide that I want this particular flower, so I'm going to click on it, I'm going to hit insert. It's going to automatically insert that graphic in my slide. I'm going to size it, I'm going to move it. Now, one of the things that they have on the formatting ribbon is they've given you the option of removing the background of a graphic. So if I hit remove background, it's going to show me what's going to be removed. If I want more of that picture, I can just adjust this. And then when I hit keep changes, notice how it takes everything out but that flower. Then I could go to corrections and I can choose different styles. I can go to color and pick different color styles if I want for that graphic. We're going to turn you into a graphic artist here. Then I can go to artistic effects and really do some things with that graphic. And then if you wanted to, you can put a border around it or put it like in a little frame, depending on what you choose. And then take that and put a border around that. Maybe add some glow effects around it. I mean, you can really enhance the graphic any way you want. You can size it, you could put it in there, whatever you want to do with it. So you can take that graphic and really, really enhance it. So now, when you want to see what your slideshow looks like, there is a slideshow ribbon, and you can run it from the beginning or from the current slide. Again, from the beginning means that it starts from the beginning, and that's F5. So if I hit F5, it will automatically run from the beginning, and if I do Shift F5, it's going to run it from the current slide. So if I'm here and I do Shift F5, it's going to start from the current slide. Now, you also can, if you want, you can right-click on slides. You can do this here, or you can do it in the slide sorter view. You can hide slides. So if you don't want slides to run in the presentation, let's say I go to the slide sorter view, and I pick slide 4, and I hit the hide slide button, and then I go ahead and I click on maybe slide 6, and I hide that slide. So now, when I want to run my slide, notice that it will skip those slides. So as I'm running, it's going to skip the slides that I don't want to show at that time. And then if I go back to my slide sorter view, you'll notice that the slides I'm not running have a little line through them. so that if I go ahead and click on it, I can hit hide slide again to turn it off. So hide slide will turn it on and turn it off. I'm going to go back to my first slide. I'm going to go to transitions. Transitions is how it moves from slide to slide. There are many transition styles to choose from now. So you've got different types, and this is how the slide comes in. So like origami means that the slide, when it's done, it'll leave. You have there's a lot of different slide transitions. It is recommended you use the same transition for every slide, not different transitions for every slide, because you don't want to irritate your audience. Certain transitions, depending on what you choose, may have different options as far as how they come in. So you can have them come in from the left or from the right or from the top or from the bottom, depending on what you choose. And then if you want to, you can also hit apply to all so that it applies that transition to all of your slides. You'll notice that you have timing here for the transition, so if it's too fast or too slow, you can actually speed that up. And if you do have sound, you can apply sound to a slide. So like for the last slide, if I wanted to assign applause so that when I run it, at the end. Now, the other thing I like, one of the transition styles I like is under dynamic content. So let's say I pick Ferris wheel and then I hit apply to all. So now what that's going to do is the way the slide doesn't actually move, but the graphics, the text, not anything that's on that slide comes in. So see how the slide is, it's very subtle, and it's not, I don't have animation on the slides yet, on the text, but you can see how it comes in a nice way, and it automatically, and then the animated text will move when it gets to that particular slide. So that is called transitions. Now animation is when you're animating a particular, either your bullets, your text. In fact, I'm going to go down here first to this slide, so I can say, well, actually I'll click on the title first. So I'll click on the first placeholder. When you apply animation, you have to select your object or your text first. Then you get your animation that pops up. Of course, the more button would bring up more animation. It is categorized because it does mean something. Entrance means how it comes in. Emphasis means that it's going to be on the slide, but the text is going to be emphasized. Exit means it'll show up on the slide and then leave. And then it can actually follow a motion path. And if you hit more entrance effects, you get all of these that are listed. So there's more listed than you actually see. So for instance, if I click on Rise Up, notice how the text comes up on the screen. Now, if I want all of my titles to come in that way, one of the things that they added is an animation painter. If you've ever used the format painter in the past, the format painter was a button where you would double click on, and you could copy formatting from one object to the next. Well, the animation painter is the same way. They got rid of a feature they used to call animation schemes in 2003, and now they have this animation painter. So I click on the object that has the animation that I want. I double click on the animation painter, and then I go to the next slide, and I click on the object that I want to apply the animation to. So I'm going to go to all my slides, and I'm actually going to apply this to each of my titles. So that way, all of my titles come in the same way. And when I'm done, I either click back on the animation painter again, or I hit escape. And notice you don't see the paintbrush attached to my mouse. Now I'm going to go to the second slide, which has that Smart Art design. I'm going to click on the white box surrounding the Smart Art design so you get the whole thing, not just a piece of it. I'm going to apply an animation effect to it. Notice how when I click on it, and that's because the little preview button over here is on, it shows me how it's going to come in. But if I go to Effect Options and choose one by one, now it's going to bring in, and if I want to see what that looks like, I can click on it. And everything I'm using right now is run on mouse timers, so I'm not using any timings right now because I have more control if I use my mouse. But as I click, see how it comes in and moves away. And then the next one. And then the same with bullets. If you go here and you apply animation to your bullets, that one, they come in separately. If not, you could say by paragraph. If they're all coming in at once, just make sure it says by paragraph so that each line comes in separately. The other thing that you have to watch out for is I just applied animation to this placeholder here. Well, if you remember, I used the animation painter to copy animation also to the titles. So if I click here, there's something called an animation pane. And if I click on that, it'll tell me if I've applied more than one animation to one, and I can hit remove. So if I do end up putting more than I need to put on, because sometimes you just keep piling the animation on top of an object, and you may have 3 or 4 different animations on top of one object. So in order to control that, then that's why you can bring up the animation pane and show you if you have more than one animation effect on an object. And then that way you can control it. You notice that I have the, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to my first one. I'm going to go ahead and run my, I didn't have to go back to the first one. I could have just hit F5 and that would run it. So now you can see how my slides are coming in, how my animation is working, and you can talk about each item. I've got the crazy swivel. I've got my bullet points coming in separately. And I didn't animate that text, but just the title. I've got my animated clip art. I've got my screenshot and my picture. And I have my ending slide. And then finally, the last thing to talk about is printing your slides. So if I go to File and I go to Print, you can print. It's defaulted to print full page slides. But if you notice here, and remember earlier I said you could print sections if you want. Right now, if I have it set to print all slides, I can go here, and then if I'm the speaker, I can go to Notes page and then print each of the slides for myself as the presenter. So as I go back, you can see the slide, and then the ones where I have the notes underneath would print this way. So I could print this style for myself as the presenter. And then if I go back to slides and click on the drop down arrow, then it has a section for handouts where you can print 2 slides per page. But the one that most people use when they're presenting is the 3 slides, because that's the one that gives you the lines to the right of the slides for people to take notes. And if I change the orientation to landscape, it will put the lines underneath the slides in landscape view. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation today of PowerPoint. Of course, there are lots of other features in PowerPoint. One of them would be working with the Slide Master, creating custom shows, working with the photo album, trimming audio and video, working with charts, using pictures, working with hyperlinks, those types of features. So that could be another presentation in the future. I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. If you have any questions, you can feel free to chat. And the next session next month is going to be OneNote. So I hope we see you then. Thank you.